Good morning and welcome to the program Perspectives on Invicta 98.9. And this morning, our attention and focus would be on Kajuru local government. Now, we all know what had happened in that local government some days back. And, of course, loss of lives and property were involved. It has gained national attention now. It's beyond the state now, of course, having the president, make his comment about finding lasting solution to the crisis in Kajuru local government. Of course, last year again, we knew what happened. Commissions of inquiries have been set up and still on it about finding lasting solutions to this problem. Glad to say this morning that I have Honorable Yakubu Umar Barde, Member Federal House representing Chikun and Kajuru Federal Constituency, with us in the studios, and we'll be talking about ethnic nationalities in Kajuru and how we can, ask them to embrace mutual trust for peace. That will be the center of attraction this morning. Honorable Yakubu Umar Barde, good morning and glad to have you in our studios.
Thank you, Tony, and it's my pleasure to be here always.
All right. Kajuru again, and this time, for obvious reasons, not about peace and development, but again about vexed, minds, anger busting out, and about, bandits, kidnappers, criminals who have come again into that local government. And of course, blood was left behind. Now, it has become an issue of the national, federal government, with President Muhammadu Buhari commenting on and asking for peace to reign in that area. Representing that area, your thoughts about what is it and what is it about that area that peace is just, denied them for as long as it has lasted?
Thank you very much. Let me commensurate first with the people that lost their lives and property, both on the other divides of the clashes, and to also pray for the speedy recovery of those that are still in hospital, because as we speak, we have a lot of patients in various hospitals, Barau Diko, St. Gerard, 44, and other places, and they are still receiving treatment. And we'll be receiving calls and from sympathizers and also well-wishers who are really disturbed about what is happening. Like you rightly said, it's very unfortunate that when the issue of Kajuru comes to mind, it is not something that gladdens one's mind, but something that makes you sad. You regret what has happened, and it even disturbs even the nation as a whole, not Nigeria, not Kaduna State alone. Now, my thoughts about this is it is multifaceted. The solution is multifaceted, and the problem is also multifaceted. Now, you look at it, you will know that the Fulanis who have lived with us, with the indigenous or with the people that are there, with the Hausas, they had a very good peaceful coexistence. There was no fight. Even if there was a fight, it was usually settled by the Mengwa or the Dakachi or the Ardo. Now, what has happened of recent, you agree with me that we had people who were Fulani's majority who came in and they started with cattle rustling. Now, the Fulani people were the first victim of those rustlers, because the Fulani were the people majority that are nomads, that who have cattle. So after that incident, the people now felt, okay, the Fulanis are no longer having cattle. What else do we do? Now they started kidnapping because they wanted money. Of course, these cattle were rustled and sold out for monetary purposes. So when the cattle diminished in number, the next crime that was available to get money was to kidnap people. Now they started kidnapping the influential ones who they believe had money in the society. And it has gone up to the extent that if you try to resist, of course, the backlash is killing. And once the people retaliate, because one of theirs was killed, or they retaliate in killing those who come to kidnap, the thing is that you see retaliation or reprisal, which is continuous, which has been what is happening today in Kajuru and other local government, including Chikun. So it's very sad. You see, you agree with me that, number one, trust has been lost between the Fulanis and the Hausas and even the Adara people. And what do I mean by saying trust has been lost? Okay, If, for example, these Fulanis who are bandit, I don't even want to even ascribe a name to them, but they are just criminals who comes into the community to steal people or to men or to destroy property. You see, they are criminals purely. Now, but majority of them, as we had a meeting even with the governor, and he agreed, he said majority of them are Fulani people. Now, they come to a community, they want to go and steal people or kidnap people, let me put it that way. Now, they go for the Adaraman, they want to kidnap him. And once they kidnap the other people, they are not touching the Fulani people. Now, that distrust comes in. Why is the Fulanis not touched? And this is one of the problems the other people keep asking. Now, the moment they feel okay, if there is no connivance, we are supposed to be kidnapped, and along also the Fulani people should be kidnapped. But unfortunately, when it's only the Adaraman or the Hausa man that is kidnapped, and the Fulani who lives in that environment is not touched, then people are bound to think whether there is a connivance or fear. Now, I say fear because I remember there are instances where even people who are Adara or Hausas or Bagi who knew about this kidnapping, because of fear for their families, because they are not sure they will be protected if they divulge information about what these people are doing, they will rather keep quiet because of fear. Or connivance because they will share in the booty of the kidnap. So, and we have such criminals even amongst the Hausa, even amongst the Adara people, even amongst the Bagi people. They have come to connive with the Fulani people because they also will share out of what the criminals get after the kidnap. So it is whole lot of a problem, and I think the solutions to it is for the government really to provide safety for people who are willing to give information out, to make sure that their family are protected and also be proactive. You see, most of the things that are happening today, you see that the government is rather is not proactive, but rather reactionary. That is, after the deed has been done, the government goes in. It's not supposed to be like that.
I want to, just before you really stay with government, I want to talk about a community where they have lived hundreds of years together. We're talking about the Fulanis, the Hausas, the Adara, and all of that. They've lived together, and trust has been there. Confidence building at this time of crisis. What approach or method should you put into, building confidence amongst nationalities that have lived for this long, and yet we're finding them being torn apart with what is happening now?
Yes, I think confidence building, like I earlier said, has to be done by the government. Now, if the Fulani man who has lived in a particular area for a lot of years, and the other man who has lived in a particular area for a lot of years, had that the Fulani people will be attacked, and the other man will give the information to the security or to the government, and he is protected, and the Fulani man is protected, you see, you have built trust. If the Fulani man knows that these criminals are coming, and he will get information to the government that they are coming to kill the Adara man, and this information is taken seriously by the government, and the Adara man is protected, you see, you've built trust among these two tribes. Apart from that, it will be very difficult, because the Adara man feels the Fulani man has betrayed him, or the Hausa man feels the Fulani man has betrayed him, and also the Fulani man also feel, oh, the Adara man has betrayed him. I'll give you instances. Fine. Some people were killed, and the Fulani in the near community were not involved in it. But because of the distrust, the Fulani people were attacked and killed by the Adara people. Now,
reprisals.
These are people that are not involved. Now, how do you separate those that are not involved with those that are involved? That can only be done when there is confidence and trust among them, where they are able to tell each other, look, let's expose the criminal element among us. But the moment you don't do that, you can never have that peace. So for me, it boils down again to government giving assurance that we will be there when we hear about anything that will disturb the peace of the people. That's one, on the part of the government. For the people, again, is for them to come together and say, look, on both sides, we have criminals. Let's expose them so that we can live in peace. If they can agree to that, because I tell you, among the Fulani ones that are sedentary, some of them connive with the criminals to perpetuate this act. Otherwise, how will the criminals who are coming from somewhere know who among the Adara community or Hausa community has more money that they go after his family? How do they know? There must be an insider, either from the end of the Fulani or from the end of the Adara people or the Hausa people. Somebody must have fed those criminals with that information. So government needs to be up and doing in intelligent gathering. Unfortunately, I sympathize with the government because the security are overstretched. Look at various fighting, Boko Haram in the northeast, criminal element kidnapping everywhere in the country. So, and if you look at the proportion of people to the number of police to number of people, we are below the standard of the World United Nations. So we need to recruit more manpower and equip them, our security forces. This is very, very important because I have had instances where you see you have only like 10 soldiers. Then these criminal element are maybe 200. How do you ask these 10 soldiers to go and confront 200 people with guns? It's not going to be possible, or it will be very risky. And it has happened, soldiers have been killed by these bandits. And it's really unfortunate. And like I said, I'll continue to advocate for more financing of our security agencies and the recruitment of more manpower.
I want to take you on this, and this has come up at National Space, where we're talking about, is it not about time that we begin to talk about security in the sense that the people, community security this time around? Because again, with the people knowing that attacks may come at any time, what are we doing about finding, using the community security by engaging young men and, who would stand at alert, watching out for these criminal elements when they will come?
Yes, thank you. I think this is a very important question, and I'm happy because when we held a meeting with the governor, Malam Nasir, we really advocated for the strengthening of the vigilante group. The vigilante group in some places have been doing a very good job. Now, if you have a vigilante group in a community where the Hausa man is involved, the Adara man or the Gbagi man is involved, and the Fulani man is involved, and they are sincere, that is the first step to the solution. Because number one, if there is an impending attack, the vigilante will know. And if they don't have the manpower or the strength or the capacity to repel that attack, they could invite the security, which will now come in before the attack takes place. And you will know that the attack will be stopped. I think one and first and foremost, this vigilante group is very, very important. And we're advocating for it because it's one of the recommendations we are going to give to the government, that we should strengthen vigilante group in every community so that they will have information about what is about to happen. And in so doing, they can inform the government or security agencies before the attacks.
And some of the questions again that comes, with this is, how do 100, 200 people come into the community and do all of this attack, and yet information does not get to military posts, and of course that people just come overnight and fade out and you don't see them? You begin to wonder, of all the security measures that have been put in place in that area, how do just, that we cannot find one or two people,
Yes, Tony, let me be very honest with you. These criminals or bandits, they come on motorcycles. And you know how a motorcycle can maneuver its way inside the forest, which a vehicle cannot go. Now, you can't ask a soldier or a military man or a police, that matter, to take two of them on a bike to go after them. They cannot, because they'll be killed. Now, and a vehicle, the area is not accessible by a vehicle. So what happens? So you can only get to them through air. That is the Nigerian Air Force. And the Nigerian Air Force, I keep asking. And anyway, when I asked a naive question, some people said, I remember I talked with the top military shots in Nigeria, and I said, look, you people have area surveillance. You see these criminals. Why don't you just gas them so that they'll sleep? Then you go pick them up. And I was told that, it will be against United Nations, it will be a war crime. And I said, what is the war crime in making a bandit to sleep? After putting some gas in the forest, they all sleep, then you pick them up. Very simple. Anyway, I don't know where the United Nations Convention said you shouldn't do that. But what the top military shot told me was that it's against United Nations Convention, that you don't go and gas people. But for me, I don't think, as long as the gas is not injurious, because they will wake up after sleeping for some hours. Then you send in your troop, even through the plane. They will land there and pick them, and pick this thing. I have proposed this, I don't know why the military are not doing it. And honestly, I'm disappointed because for me, it's a very big solution. Very big solution. Because if you go on air there, bring your craft slow, I mean, inject gas into the forest, they will all sleep, even including those they've kidnapped. So you pick them. When they wake up after maybe 5 hours, after 10 hours, you select those that are bandits. And of course, their weapons will be, you just carry the weapon. Anyway, for me, it's a solution which I think is very good. Number two, if these people can run into the forest, I said, when we were discussing with our governor, Malam Nasir, we did talk about drones, and I'm happy. It's called the state government has bought some drones. They have them. Now, the problem again is that even when the drone is monitoring where they are going, before the people, the military, will leave town and go to that terrain, which will take like hours. In some places are not even accessible. Even when the drone is seeing them, they are not accessible. They will run. Now, you see, we need the collaboration of the Air Force to bomb them. And even when you bomb them, of course, thank God, last time, up to 17 of them were killed when the Air Force bombed the area in Kabarasha area there. And some were killed. But some still ran away because some of them have caves that they could run into. So even after you bomb them, some that run into the cave will still come out. So this is the difficulty which I sympathize with the military because except the government deliberately establish military barracks or formation in those areas where the terrain is hard and create access road. The chairman of Kajuru did mention when we were meeting with the governor, and that is Kafra, he did mention that there is need for government to create access roads into all these forests, because if you don't, I will assure you the bandit will have a hiding place. And another thing which is very important is how do we stop the interstate journey or travels of this bandit? Because I tell you authoritatively, we have an area in our village, they are called Lasanta. The bandit cross from Zamfara state or from Niger, come into Kaduna, do their harm, then go back to Niger. I tell you, of recent, a woman was kidnapped, and the bandit threatened that if they don't pay the amount they wanted, the ransom they wanted, that they are going to take the woman to Zamfara. And that once they take her to Zamfara, the amount they will pay will be double what these people are requiring, are looking for. And what they were saying was that they will hand them over to their superior kidnappers. And the superior kidnappers are in Zamfara state. So it's a whole lot of problem. And really, it's disturbing. I always said, God, one is shouldering this responsibility now. It's very heavy because people don't even tend to understand what you do as a leader or how far you've been talking with government and how government has been trying also. But honestly, entirely, like I said, government can help, people in leadership position like me can help, but again, the community itself has to deliberately come together and agree that you want to have peace.
Kajuru is a farming community, and the consequences of this on what the farming season would look like. Is it something of that we just must be careful about food security if these kind of things will be happening in these farming communities?
I tell you honestly, Tony, Mr. Governor expressed fears about that when we held a meeting with him, and I also expressed that fear. I don't see our farmers able to go to farm if this banditry continues. Some of them have even left their villages. They are now in town, and they are in town with family members or in some refugee, I don't want to call it refugee center, in some, of course, they are displaced people yeah. In displaced people center. And mind you, they are not farming there. They are depending on what they could buy from the market. Now, who will do the farming to bring the products to the market? If all these villages are displaced, like I speak to you now, most of the villages in Chukun area, Kabarasha, Nawi, Kugo, they are all displaced. All the people have run away. They've left their villages, come to where there's relative peace. And where there's relative peace, they don't have farmlands. So they are going to be idle. Or they will share the little farmland those people who are already in that community have. Which means the number of area cultivated will reduce. And if that happens, it means that the product or the produce will reduce. So next year, I have this serious fear that if the government do not take deliberate steps to make sure that our farmers are able to cultivate their farms, there may be shortage of food.
It's the program Perspectives this morning, and we are having with us this morning on the program Honorable Yakubu Umar Bardi, member, Federal House, representing Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency, and we're talking about finding lasting solutions to a crisis in Kajuru. We'll come back after this break. Welcome back. Is the program Perspectives this morning on Invicta 98.9, and we're talking about finding lasting solutions to the crisis in Kajuru, and of course other areas that may be facing this problem too of banditry, criminals, to rightly put it, disturbing the peace of that community, loss of lives and property in the last experience, and just what to do about it. Let me come to Northern, Governors Forum. We've had several meetings about, you talked about borders, bordering Kaduna State, and we know that Kaduna State is positioned in a place where borders with other states, and we've not seen, enough of having security surveillance or, in these areas. This crisis is still going on, not only in Kajuru, Chukun, other parts, of the state are experiencing that too. Brunangwari, Igabi, and all of that, taking their own, part of this crisis. For how long will this last? And for how long can the people, sleep with peace of mind? Because peace has just been denied to them with all of those criminals, invading these areas.
Yes, I like the question, because like I always say, if we have a problem, since we are interwoven between states and even communities, then there will be need for concerted effort. Let me say, the rate at which our governor, Governor El-Rufai, is going about the banditry, at the rate he's going, he is ahead of some of our neighboring governors. And because of that, you see that they are slowing him down. We held a meeting with the governor of recent, and he told us that he has discussed with the governor of Niger State, and they have agreed to jointly do an operation that will involve Kaduna and Niger, involving the military, and which was a good effort, because of course there will be need for logistics, for finances. Now, if the other governors were taking it at this rate, I tell you, we'll have come at least to a barest minimum. We'll have reduced the incidence of people coming, bandit or criminals coming from other states to infiltrate us, or from Katsina to infiltrate us. So, like I said, we need concerted effort of everybody, especially the chief security officers. And who are the chief security officers? The governors, of course. If they are not on the same page, you will agree with me, will never succeed. I unfortunately take the issue of COVID-19, which is of recent. You could see the lackadaisical attitude of some governors who wanted to believe that it is not in existence, or they want to take the populist action where you said, oh, I'll open up the Fridays and the Sundays so that people can worship. These are just populist steps, which at the end of the day will be detrimental to the health of the people. I'm sorry, but the issue of Kano comes to mind. So, like I said, if we have a problem, there will be need for concerted effort, and let the governors be at the same page. Apart from that, look at the Southeast governors. When the issue of this banditry and kidnapping became too much, they have what we call a Amotekun. For me, it's a welcome idea. Why can't we have the same thing up north here? Why can't we? Should we continue with this? When Amotekun came, there was this misgiving, how will it operate within the confine of the Nigerian constitution? Fine. They worked with the IG, and the IG gave his nod to it, that they can have Amotekun. I am very sure if the synergy among the Southwest governors continue, I will tell you, issue of banditry and criminality will be reduced to a barest minimum in the Southwest.
One of the issues, again, that may come out of this is that people also ask that when criminals are caught, especially in crisis areas, that that's about what you hear. That just what about the courts doing? We don't find people saying that for this crime committed, the punishment we're giving and the whole public comes to know about it, that again creates suspicion in the minds of the people.
Yeah, you see, the justice system in our country is honestly, the prosecution of criminals is very slow, and I don't know whether the evidence gathering or intelligence gathering of security agencies is very slow. You see somebody who is taken to court on the suspicion that he's a criminal, and before he could face prosecution proper, where evidence have been gathered, some of them will even remain in prison for a year or so before the proper trial starts.
Awaiting trial.
Awaiting trial. So it is not a very good thing, because again, there's always this attitude that says justice delayed is justice denied. People want to see that anybody who is caught, he's prosecuted quickly and punished, or discharged and acquitted if he's not found wanting. But in a situation where the person that is harmed maybe dies before the prosecutions even take place, what will the family members think? He will die without justice because he has gone, and the person who committed that crime is there awaiting trial for years. So it is a call that our procedure in criminal justice should be hastened up in such a way that justice is gotten at the best minimal time. Again, when you talk to lawyers about that, they said, look, the justice system is careful so that an innocent person is not convicted. So you see, it's like a two-edged sword. If you try to speed it up, you may end up, if you don't get the required evidence or witnesses, then an innocent person could suffer. But again, a victim could suffer if justice is delayed. So we have to have a balance. And I think our courts, our judicial system should do that. And National Assembly, you agree with me, we passed the Criminal Justice Act, which is a very good one. And I believe if it's fully implemented, it will enhance the delivery of justice in the country.
Of recent times, due again to crisis, that we're finding all over the place, the IDP camps, people displaced. We're having it all over the country now. A sore thing that was never experienced some years back, but today all staring us in the face now. And people talk about returning back home. People talk about ancestral land, going back to my ancestral land. And yet we still find that these people are just still left there. Now, what is the problem here?
Yes, again, it has to do with insecurity. If I have been displaced from my village and I'm not guaranteed of peace or safety to go back, I wouldn't go back. I would rather stay in the town and beg for food than to go back and be killed. This is the scenario. And again, it boils down to the government. These people, like I tell you, a lot of villages I know headed to were occupied by people, even the Adara or the Bagi people or the Hausa people. I tell you today, it's not something I should hide. The Hausa people no longer stays in Chukun. It's not because they had a problem with the Bagi man in Chukun village. No, they were afraid. Most of them are in Goningora, some of them are in Sabonga. And I feel bad. Even the Sarki Asawa of Chukun village is no longer in the village. He's in Sabonga. And he's the Sarki Asawa of Chukun village. He didn't run away because he had a problem with the Bagi people, but because he had a problem with the bandits. Because like I explained to the governor one day, I said, when those criminals come in and they finish rustling all the cattle, the next thing is they look for who is the richer person in the community. And to be honest, the Hausa man who happens, or the Igbo man who happens to be a trader, was the next target because he sells on a daily basis. So the bandits believed they could just get money from them. And it was happening. So the Igbo man that was a trader in my village and the Hausa man that was a trader in my village, they had to leave. So again, like I said, it boils down to the government. And we must, the response time of our security agencies must be reduced such that if you go to advanced country, if there is a crime in the next day neighbor, once you call 911, it takes maximum 5 minutes or at most 10 minutes. The police are there. Is that what is obtainable here? No. One, because we don't have the power, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the equipment to do that. Why is it so? Why is it so? I'm happy there is this police trust fund which has just been established, and I think the National Assembly is going to give it back into it. I think we need such a dedicated fund so that if the mobility for the police is there, and mind you again, even if the mobility is there, the roads may also be accessible. Because if you live in a hamlet where there are no clear-cut roads and you call the police, you could have problem in getting access to where you are. So you see, it kind of interwoven. Our roads must be good. You must provide logistics for the police or the security agencies, and equipment, and the number in terms of manpower. These are all things that should be looked at holistically. Otherwise, we're not going to go anywhere. Because if the man who stays in Dakunu village or in one Iri village calls the police or calls the security agencies that there is imminent attack, and I have instances where the policeman will tell you, we don't have vehicle. And it's true. We've had instances where the security agencies will tell you their vehicle has broken down. Now, what do you do if you are just a citizen? You don't even have a car, and the policeman or the security agency is telling you his car has broken down. So how do you help him? You are left helpless.
Okay,
it's a very big problem.
I cannot let you go without asking this question that borders on what is happening in the states and at national level, and that's about, again, this is about security. And people would say that you just made mention that police and the and soldiers may not be in the numbers to secure communities and all of that. And the question the ordinary man would ask is that, why not give employment, employ and employ and employ? But again, the sophisticated way of securing any nation or state now may not just be about numbers, but about equipment and all of that. So if we have these shortfalls in Nigeria in terms of equipment and all of that, what are we doing about employment, of young men, and women into, securing the communities and states?
I'm privy to the approval that was gotten by the police to recruit more hands, because it came in the budget. But you see, they said man proposes and God disposes. Now, with the issue of COVID-19, I'm doubtful if the government will be able to fund additional policemen. You see, it's a minus. And you see, we never knew there would be anything called COVID-19. And today, government has mopped up funds from different angles to make sure that health is important. Now, you agree with me that health comes first. Because no matter what we do, if the manpower is not healthy, you can't achieve anything. So the government has prioritized that, look, we need to fight this COVID-19 to a logical conclusion. And as funds have been mopped off and the budget has been reduced, so you can see that our projection about employing more policemen will not meet the required number that we want. And I wonder even if it will take place again. And the same thing to the Nigerian Army. They had this approval of Mr. President to employ or recruit more troops. But again, it boils down to ability of the government to fund this recruitment. So I have to be very honest. I think it's a problem today because of this pandemic that has just happened to us. But I pray that we'll get out of it and we'll do the needful in terms of providing security to our people.
Okay, it's time. Let's go to the audience now. Take your thoughts on these. And of course, your questions can come to Honorable Yakubu Umar Berde, member, Federal House, representing Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency, and of course was a former minority whip in the 8th Assembly under the PDP party. Numbers to call to be part of this conversation: 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 87 800 989. And we expect that your comments and questions will just be as civil as it would come. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Tonya Labi.
Good morning.
Morning, Honorable Yakubu.
Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Musa Bala. I'm calling from Kaduna here.
All right, Musa Bala.
He has spoken very well, but I have two basic questions to ask him, please. As a member representing Kajuru for the past 16 years, which I'm very sure you're an indigenous of Chukwu local government, and you know the history of crisis in Kajuru local government, which is backdated to about 40 years back.
40 years.
What are you political stakeholders doing to sincerely tell the people of Kajuru, particularly, to be tolerant of one another? That is my basic question. One question. The second question, you made mention that our police are ineffective. They don't have that. They don't have that. And you made a similar reference to United Kingdom, where if you just dial 911, you will see the police. Yet, you people at the National Assembly, in a country that cannot finance its police, you are collecting the highest salary in the whole world compared to other countries. Is that fair to the general public?
All right, Musa Bala.
Thank you.
I'll just come to the Honorable with this question. Honorable.
Yeah, I thank Musa Bala for the question that what are we doing to build trust among the people with the political class? Like I said, we've had a lot of series of meetings. I remember particularly in last year, I held peace meetings, more than 10 with the people there. And honestly, those peace advocacy meetings were financed even by the federal government. And I had that privilege to do so because I was a minority whip. We held peace meetings with the pastors, with the communities, with the Adros, with the Adra people, with the Hausa people. Anybody who stays in Chukwu Kajuru knows that we had over 10 of such seminars. Even we did some this year in January. Now, honestly, you see, it's one thing to appeal to the conscience of people. It's another thing for them to do the needful. You can't force, like they said, you can force a horse to the river, but you cannot force it to drink water. On my own part, and many of us in the political class, which I'm aware of, we've been doing that to us. I tell Musa this, I'm not happy today because I know there are people in the hospital who need my help to give them money. I know there are people who don't have food to eat. Why? Because of this crisis. So should I be jubilating? Rather, the burden on me is more. If these people there are people today, if they were in their community farming, you will never see them near the door of your house. It's when you want to campaign that you see them, they will say, oh, fine. But today, because they don't have food to eat, their properties have been burnt or destroyed, they come to you to beg for alms. It's a very big burden, and I'm pain in my heart. That is one aspect. This other aspect Musa is talking to, I beg to disagree with him that we are not the highest paying legislators in the world. I think he should take a statistic and look at it. I think Kenya even pays more than Nigeria. Yes, we are not the highest paid.
Well, again, the question would be the level of poverty in the country that we know, and yet we're having our representatives going home with that huge amount of money.
Yes, you see, I always tell people one thing. I said, look, salaries or allowances, if you tell me in the structure of corruption or where money is sipped out of government, it's not through the salaries and wages, it's through contracts. Why is it that somebody who is a member of the Senate or House of Rep will leave Senate to be a minister? Is it that the ministers receive more salaries? Or is it the ministers receive more allowances? Let's ask this question. But the legislators are always behind every accusation. But people don't look at contracts that are inflated by the executive. A contract that is worth 1 billion, they will put it at 2 billion. And at the end of the day, maybe only 800 million will be spent on it, and the rest 1.2 billion goes into private pockets. We don't look at that. We don't look at that. I think we need to have a holistic approach to this issue. For me, if you say you are going to pay me even 1 naira today, I'll be comfortable because I'll have other things. I am an advocate, and I'll really say it, that let legislator be part-time. I've ever said it on the floor. I don't mind. Let's be part-time so that we are paid only the days we sit. If Nigerians will be more comfortable with that, why not? But again, the bogus executive should be looked at. Where one person, one minister, will have over 28. I have only 5. But does the minister have only 5? Have SAs, you can't even count them. These people are under salary and allowances. I mean, there's a lot to be said.
This is not subject of discussion, but I wish we had that.
Yes.
But For another day.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, still with your calls. Still taking your calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Abdullahi Akilu Jigunu calling from Badarawa here.
Okay.
Let me greet my honorable barrister Umar Bade. Secondly, I really appreciate what he already did. So, Sally speaking, Bade is a man of the people, and no matter how Bade is, you know, I live in Kaduna government. I am not even part of his why he is, but most of the people most of the Kaduna people, they even go to him, they consider them, they listen to them. After listening, they can even what you wanted the man, they cannot give you 100%, but they only give you a small. You know, most of like me, I'm a Muslim. But how do you expect that this is hiring people, most of the Muslim brothers from top that let him go and do the fasting. But the fellow is a nice person. He can tell you true exactly what happened. If you have it, they say I have it. I don't have it. I don't have it. But it's a man of that. We even pray for him to go another again to make a speaker. And then see the job. Thank you, my honorable member.
Thank you, I would have put, I have my, receipt for you on this polishing that you're doing today. All right. But again, I'll take your call. Again, let's take another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
I can hear you. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, I'm Usman calling you from Ngomazu.
Okay, Usman and Ngomazu. All right, let's hear you.
I would like to say kudos to the honorable. He spoke well. Actually, he's a true leader. He's unbiased on his speech. I followed him from the starting and to the end. He spoke well, and he looked unbiased. And this is what we are campaigning for, or what we are looking for. And we've gotten a person like him to speak well for the nation. That his speech brings peace in that area. But his own analysis actually makes me to be happy here. I want if he can challenge them or bring this in the house that we need a special response team. Just as he said that in advance, well, when you call 991, they respond. For here, we don't have that. Can we just get that special response team that only responsible for just short issues that can respond for short response if these responses are needed? I think it's the solution for all these things. But if we then put that body also to the police station, I think we cannot respond to. But if we have that special response team, and that station is just built for that responsibility, I think it will be
okay. Usman,
enough to tackle all those things.
All right, we got you on that.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
It is a good suggestion, but again, when this crisis armed banditry started, the IG of police formed a response team that was mainly to respond to calls that has to do with banditry, robbery, and so on. But again, it's like I said, we could have it there. But again, you see, that has to do with mobility, proper funding, and that has to do also with communication, including access road and ability to make calls. In some places, as I tell you, up till today in my village, we don't have any network. Before people could make calls, they have to go to a hill. When there is distress call, they have to go to a hill. Now you can imagine a situation where the hill area is barricaded by bandits, so they have nowhere to go. So it's a whole lot of problem. And honestly, I sympathize with people. I have my people in the village. I know what they go through. I feel the pains. Because when they don't have, they come to me. And what do I do? Like I speak to you, I continue to say it. Nobody will like to be remembered during your tenure as a leader that there was bloodshed. Sometimes I feel pains that Kaduna is mentioned on the negative. Now, even if the government is trying to invite investors, which investor would like to come? When you wake up today, when this crisis happened in Kajuru, somebody called me from London. So your state is still doing this kind of rubbish. God forbid I will not come to that state. Now, you can't blame him. But you ask yourself, if you are truly somebody who loves this state, you won't want to hear such things happening. Because it's giving us a bad name. It's driving away investors. There was a contract that was ever given in the federal government. I won't mention the local government. Here, the contractor said he is not going to come. Yes, and he refused. And the job was left because nobody was willing to come and sacrifice his life. So it's unfortunate, really.
Not that bad. Still can squeeze in one call or two before we bring it to a close. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yes, morning, your name?
My name is Elder Christopher Ibrahim from Marabarido.
Please come with the name again.
Elder Christopher Ibrahim from Marabarido.
Elder Christopher. Okay, let's hear you.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's hear you.
Honestly, Mr. Member, in fact, I really appreciate it. Mr. Verde, you have always been a good person. And honestly, I want you to maintain that status. Honestly, I want to appreciate what you have just spoken. You see, here we in Marabarido, honestly speaking, we have no benefit of anything. These bandits are terrorizing us very, very well here. You can look at Marabarido itself. Only one police station, just little one. Outpost. How many of them? They are not even up to 10. And look at this very area. You know the axis between Angwaja and Angwan Sambo. These bandits are coming from Kankumi and trading. Last week we had so many issues. And today we want to please help us. Please help us. To our members, and we really appreciate you. Please kindly do something. Honestly, our people we are fighting for you. Kindly try and visit those areas.
All right, Elder Christopher.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I'll have your bill ready too. Digression that you put in on the program, but again, man of the people, can we stop that? But let's take this call. It will be the last one for us. Hello, good morning,
sir.
Good morning.
I greet our honorable body. So I have about 3 questions to ask. Why is it so hard to make sure this service chief are retired to bring in new ideas? Because those days when you hear Brigadier Benjamin Adukuli or General Shua, the enemy will even run out of the bush. Why is it so hard, sir? I think they are due for retirement. Secondly, the pronouncement of our leaders in this Kajuru issue is not, in fact, encouraging at all. We will not use sentiment because we are going to pour more fire. Thirdly, why is that the president ordered a total military crackdown in Katsina and he left Kajuru out? And finally, sir, help us win the close says that it is no pay or Katsina says that we are not fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Honorable.
So thank you. Let me respond to Christopher from Marabarido. I want to thank him for that question. But again, Marabarido is a well-known place for me. And let me put it on record. We have a strike force in Kujama. And Kujama is not up to 20. It's just like 10 kilometers. Is it up to 10 kilometers away from Marabarido? I think what we need to do is to strengthen the strike force that we have in Kujama. The local government, in conjunction with the state, including us, we pressurize. So they have a strike force in Kujama. And I believe if they are really up and doing, or if they are informed early, they should be able to comb that area of Rido, even right to Sabon Tesha. So I will look into it. I will talk to the chairperson, Haji Yahuza, because I'm always in touch with her. Now, these people that are coming from Kankomi area, unfortunately, we had a strike force in Kaso or Kankomi Kakao area, and they are supposed to cover that area. So, you see, I don't know the synergy they have among all the strike force, because they are meant to be talking to do a joint effort or joint attack against all these criminals in those areas. But I think with time, we will continue to do our best. And secondly, the last person that spoke about the effort of Mr. President, I will continue to say something. If any place that you see that the Mr. President has to intervene in terms of making pronouncement on security, for me, is a failure of the state governor already. I'm not trying to hold brief for Mr. El-Rufai, but if you have to wait for Mr. President to talk about the security situation in your area, it means that you have failed. Even Mr. Governor El-Rufai said, he said, if he refused to provide security for the people of Kaduna State, it means that he has failed. And he doesn't want to be remembered for that. He wants to be remembered that during his time, he did his best. So anybody for the Katsina State, anyway, I felt he should have also mentioned Kaduna. But I think our governor is up and doing. He's up and doing. That's why there was no need for Mr. President to say anything again. Because if somebody is doing his job, you don't come and tell him, oh, let me help you, when he's already doing it. I think on that aspect, I'll say so. Now, issue of the overaged service chief, for me, honestly speaking, I I still wonder today. And I remember I have made a call on the floor of the National Assembly asking that this security chief should go and let's have new blood, new hands. Maybe we can have new innovations. You understand? Because the fighting of this bandit is taking too long for us to defeat them. And it's not ought to be that way. So for me, I am up for that and I agree with it. And the National Assembly, I remembered on the floor of the National Assembly, I ever said, look, anybody, even including Mr. President, if he has run out of ideas, he should go honorably. That is what it should be, because you don't just sit down, you have no new innovations, and things are not working the way they should. For me, I'm an advocate that the service chiefs, yeah, they have done their best, but I think their best is not good enough for the situation we have today. So they should leave.
The comrade was talking about, also added textiles, you know.
Yes, the textile issue, up till today, anyway, let me put it bluntly. I'm disappointed with Mr. President. Because when Mr. President Buhari came in,
is this a PDP perspective?
No, it's not about PDP.
No, it's a PDP.
No, it's not about PDP, sir. Look at it this way. When Mr. President Buhari came on board, he promised that the textiles will be revived. I remember our Governor El-Rufai went around the textiles and promised us that very soon there will be textile fund that will revive this textile industry. Where is the fund? Why has they not taken any step? This is getting to 6 years today. It's failed promise. This is failed promise. That's the truth. It's not about party. Because my people work in textile. My people are unemployed. And unemployment and hunger is not partisan. It affects everybody.
Well, that will just be the size of it. I'd like to thank you, Honorable Yakubu Umar Berde. Thank you for coming to us.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking about finding lasting solutions to the crisis in Kajuru and, of course, other areas of the state. And with us, Honorable Yakubu Umar Berde, member Federal House representing Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency, and was the former minority whip in the 8th Assembly of the PDP party. Okay, and he's been sharing thoughts with us about finding solutions to the crisis in these areas. We'll come back with perspectives tomorrow. Same time, same station. Highness, thank you for connecting us with the people. And Wisdom, thank you for putting us in the pictures this morning. Good morning.